This is the first of several videos documenting our trip to South Dakota. Our travel day took us through Colorado to Nebraska and then finally into South Dakota. Our first stop was Scottsbluff, Nebraska, where we stayed near the National Monument.
We're on our, 5-day trip to South Dakota.
It started off as a trip to Mount Rushmore and then very quickly grew.
It morphed because we found out Mount Rushmore is not going to be that interesting. We left Denver on Saturday morning with the intention of stopping after 3 hours to split the drive up. So we went from Denver to Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
Plus we wanted a state on our map.
Especially when it's a state like Nebraska where there's not a lot of draw. It's nice to go ahead and throw that sticker up. Bosley, stop it. When we were booking Scottsbluff, we sort of had a challenging time finding a RV park. we have a coughing dog behind us.
We had a hard time finding a campground in Scottsbluff that would allow 3 dogs. There is a campground that's city owned at Scottsbluff National Monument, but it's 2 dogs only and they sounded very strict in their rules. So we found a small privately owned campground, which we believe is probably a KOA at some point, and stayed there.
I don't believe it was a KOA. It was definitely a KOA at some point.
So most everyone there was long-term rentals. We were, I believe, the only spot that was a short-term rental.
Almost certainly. We were the only people there overnight.
But that said, it was conveniently located to Scottsbluff town, like the town of Scottsbluff, and a few minutes away from the Scottsbluff National Monument. We did not take the dogs inside the National Monument. There's actually a park with a dog park, a YMCA campground, so it's all public land that had trails and stuff. So we took the dogs there and then have a couple pictures of the monument itself, but just not from inside the monument.
Yeah, and then I was just looking up the name of it. We went to the Flyover Brewery.
Very good.
We were trying to stay. We didn't feel unsafe at the campground, but it just wasn't nice. There were like stickers and it was mud. There wasn't like a lot of grass or anything for the dogs. So we found the Flyover Brewery, which allowed the dogs out on the patio. So we went there, had a beer, which was very good.
Yep.
Pizza and Brussels sprouts. All very good.
Highly recommend. They were super nice for the dogs. When I asked for a bowl of water, they brought 3 full bowls of water, which our dogs promptly spilt over, but that's okay. And the food was really good. We actually left much sooner than we wanted to because there was an incoming thunderstorm. So as soon as it started raining, we had a plan of me taking the dogs to the car and getting them in the car, and Nick kind of cleaning up the table and bringing all that inside just so the waitress didn't get soaking wet with all the rain. Nick and I are sitting on a picnic table, which is sloped towards the camper. So anytime there's a little extra weight on this side, we tip over the picnic table.
So like if I were to lean back.
Don't do it. So the camera has fallen no less than 5 or 6 times already.
So if it appears like we're leaning forward, we are. So our review of the Flyover Brewery is thumbs up. The pizza was good. The beers were very good. The Brussels sprouts were good, but probably a little oversalted, or maybe the vinaigrette was just a little too heavy-handed. But honestly, it was Brussels sprouts and I was happy with it.
Yep, and the dogs were pretty welcome there. The staff was super friendly with the dogs. We had 2 people come up, one that had a previous Old English sheepdog who wanted to pet Bosley, and then another one who had a Springer Spaniel at home who wanted to pet Lou. Olive got a little bit left out, but I think she was okay with that. So
Olive's not a people person. We finished our trip into Custer, South Dakota the following morning. We showed up at our campsite here probably, I think, 2 hours before we were supposed to. I think we showed up at 11 because we thought that was check-in.
We thought 11 or 12 was check-in. We also didn't quite do our research. We thought South Dakota was Central Time. And so showing out at 11, we really thought we were getting here at 12. Which would have been check-in time, but we were absolutely wrong on both counts. But the site was empty, so they went ahead and accommodated us, and we asked for an extra night, and they were able to accommodate as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of our trip up. Nothing too snazzy.
Splitting the trip up in 2 3-hour days, especially with Bosley being 8 months old and the other 2 haven't been on a really long trip in a while, it was pretty nice. He did great in the car though. We weren't really sure. We've only done the Saratoga trip, which was 4 hours, so we didn't want to drive the whole 6 hours, but we're gonna do that on the way back.
Which one looks like Nebraska? I see it.
This one, it's labeled NE. We get to add 2 stickers this go round. All right, we got Nebraska. And South Dakota, here we go. And we added Colorado when we stayed in Rocky Mountain, but we didn't. I forgot to film it, but we added it. So 3 states this year. Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota.
Stay tuned over our next several videos to see Wind Cave National Park, Custer State Park, Badlands National Park, as well as Mount Rushmore and a few other hikes.